Hello. So on this video, I just wanted to make a quick update video. I haven't made a video for a while, other than when I've been streaming. But I just wanted to do a few updates. First on my second PS5, as I had some issues with my first one, and then kind of getting into kind of what I've played lately slash kind of what I'm looking at for the year, as far as I know, in terms of games I'm going to get or games I might get, sort of thing, depending on obviously what games might get delayed, as well as what we might not know of that get announced later on in the year. But I'm going to start with the PS5, my second PS5 update on that. So my first PS5, if you didn't see the video, I was frustrated in the first about 3 weeks that I had the first PS5 before I was surprisingly able to return to Best Buy and exchange it for a new one. I was having a lot of issues in those like 3 weeks or so. I had probably about 15 times where the system either turned itself off, kicked me back out to the main menu, or froze to the point where I had to actually unplug the system to get it to shut down, not even like simply pushing the power button to get it to shut down. So I was having a lot of issues and frustration looking online. It sounded like some other people were having some similar issues. But yeah, I had that for about 3 weeks. The system's been out for about 7 or so, and I got it on launch day. So that means I've had my second PS5 for about 4 weeks now. And about 4 weeks. In fact, I think it was actually a Sunday when I did the exchange on the first PS5 and got the second one. And on the second one, I've had great, totally opposite of the first system's in terms of issues and stuff. The first system, like I said, had a lot of crashes, shutdowns, and everything. The second one, so far in the 4 weeks that I've had it, I have not had a single time where the system is frozen or kicked me out of a game or shut itself off. Not one. So yeah, not one of those situations has happened, which is a big difference from the first one, and more like what I was expecting from a Sony console in that regard. So I've been happy with the second PS5, and yeah, I guess the first one I got was just lemon in that, I don't know, 2% or whatever it is. That had people that get a console and have bad luck with it. So the fact that the second one is going well, that's good. I'm wondering when Sony will add the update to where you can add more space to the console, but because I know a lot of people asking for that, I haven't ran into that issue yet. I still have a good amount of space. I currently have 7 games on my PS5. I have the following games. I have Spider-Man Miles Morales, the Spider-Man Remaster, the Pathless, which I just beat. So that's the last thing I just beat. I got Immortals Gods Among Us. I played a decent amount of it, but not like a ton. I'm going to get back into that more. I have Sackboy, Watchdog Legions. I've hardly played. I've played like an hour on that. At some point, I'll have to get back to that. And then the Astrobot, which is the pre-installed game on the system. So I've bought 6 games myself. One of those would be digital only, which was the Spider-Man Remaster. The other 5 are physical. I always get physical games if I have that option. So yeah, my second PS5 is going well, and the Pathless is the last thing I beat. So now just kind of going forward here for this year and kind of what my list looks like for games and such. In terms of a backlog, I always have a backlog. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. The only way I would never have a backlog, I think, when it comes to games, would be if I never had to work another day in my life. There's just not enough time to play games, and especially because I love sports, and so a lot of my free time is spent playing or is spent watching sports. And so between working and watching sports, and then also the fact that I've been trying to find a job for years and haven't been able to find anything, that takes up a lot of time too. It's almost like having another job. So because of that, I don't get to play as much when it comes to video games as I would like. So that makes backlog hard. But yeah, it's just what it is. Just one of those things, first world problems, I guess you could say, that I will never be able to not have a backlog of some kind. But currently, in terms of what I'm going to go forward with, I think Immortals is the next game I'm going to try to mostly focus on for PS5. I'm also started playing Ori and the Will of the Wisp on the Switch. I beat the first game last year. I never played either of them until he came out on the Switch. I just got the physical copy a couple weeks ago. I hadn't really played it too much, but of Will of the Wisp. But from what I had played, I am enjoying it. So I think I'm going to bounce between Ori Will of the Wisp and Immortals Gods Among Us right now. So one Switch game, one PS5 game. And then that just kind of leads me to kind of what this year is looking like for me in terms of games. So Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, can't wait for. Big Ratchet and Clank fan and Insomniac fan. Even like the Spyro games they made were fun games, even though they weren't at the level of Spider-Man or Ratchet and Clank. So I'm looking forward to the new Ratchet and Clank, and the fact that it's been 4 years almost since the last Ratchet and Clank. So it's been a little bit, and that's not like a crazy amount. But when you look at how many Ratchet and Clank games were coming out there for a while, that is a decent amount of time. So yeah, that is. I'm looking forward to Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart a lot. Also, looks like it's going to be the first PS5 game that really shows off the system's capabilities because of all the kind of the portal hopping, going from planet to planet. Right now, though, Ratchet and Clank does not have a release date. I'm not sure when it's going to come out. It's been said launch window, which normally would be meaning either between when the system came out, which was November 12th, and like early 2021, which we're in now. So I would think it wouldn't be any later than April. But it's hard to say because I thought it might be March, but then Returnal got that March release date, so it's very unlikely they would have Ratchet and Clank the same month. And then there's also Kenya Bridge of Spirits, which is supposed to be an early 2021 game. It was a launch game before it got delayed. So it's kind of hard to say because I don't know when that's going to come out. I kind of feel like that could be maybe a February game and Ratchet maybe be a April game or something, or vice versa. But at the same time, I kind of feel like if one of those games was going to come out, we'd already have a release date announced for it maybe, but it's hard to say, especially with COVID still going on and everything. And there are rumors about PlayStation doing a state of play sometime this month where we might get like a Ratchet and Clank release date and maybe a few other little updates, announcements, if you will. So yeah, Ratchet and Clank right now to be determined on release date. Then I have Oddworld Soulstorm spring game that got announced at the Video Game Awards. So we don't know the exact month, but we do know it's in the spring. So we do know it's, between like late March. Yeah, late March and late June. That should be in there sometime. We got that update at the Video Game Awards. I've never played any of the Oddworld games, but I love platformers, and from what we've seen of this game, I'm sold. So definitely getting that. Then Kenya, which I already kind of brought up a little bit, Bridge of Spirits. Don't have a release date on that, but I thought it looked really nice. Looks kind of pits our like with its graphics and stuff and art style and whatnot. But yeah, we don't have a release date on that. We've just been told that it's supposed to be early 2021 after it had been originally supposed to be a launch game that didn't happen. There have been some rumors that it could be pushed all the way to the end of 2021, but nothing confirmed on that end. So that's just speculation / rumor in that regard. So right now that's just to be determined as well. Then Scarlet Nexus Summer. That game I'm looking forward to a lot because it looks similar, just kind of style and stuff, to Astro Chain on the Nintendo Switch, and I absolutely love Astro Chain. It's like my third favorite game on the Switch behind Zelda Breath of the Wild and Splatoon 2. So yeah, the fact that it looks similar to that is why I'm looking forward to it a lot. That's a summer game, so that should be late June at the earliest. That would be late September, somewhere around there. But yeah, I'm glad that even though we don't have an exact release date for that game as well as Oddworld, it is nice that we got both of those, got some sort of update at the Video Game Awards with a time period rather than just being to be determined completely, or even 2021, 2022, something like that. So it's nice to have kind of a quarter window there, if you will. Then Horizon Forbidden West. The only thing we know, I absolutely loved Horizon Zero Dawn. It's my favorite PS4 exclusive. So I'm really looking forward to Horizon Forbidden West. It is kind of unfortunate that it's a PS4 game as well, because I feel like that's going to hold it back some. But still, the fact that they're adding like the underwater stuff adds a lot of interesting possibilities to Horizon Forbidden West, because you might have to fight like a giant shark underwater with like a harpoon or a torpedo or something. Like, I'm just kind of thinking those possibilities. And also from what we saw when it was announced, it looks graphically like it's going to be the first game that kind of blows me away when it comes to next gen and graphics, personally, because it looked just unbelievable, especially the water. The water looked photoreal. But yeah, that we don't have a release date for, other than the fact that in some ads it said second half of 2021. So I'm thinking that could end up being a holiday 2021 game, perhaps for Sony, kind of a big game to end the year. And that by then you'd be talking about 4 years, and well, if it came out in December, you'd be talking about 4 years and like 10 months since the first game. I think that's a good amount of time. I actually thought it would, before it was announced, that we might get a sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn at launch, but obviously that didn't happen. But yeah, I can still see it being, I do think it'll be a late 2021 game. Then you have God of War, but personally, God of War, I don't think it will be out this year. I know, but I'm still including it just because, as far as we know, it's been said 2021. But I just personally don't see it coming out this year because we don't have a release date for one or even a window. I know some of the other games don't necessarily have dates, but they have some windows. We don't even have a window on that, and the fact that they didn't show really much of it, it was just a very small teaser. So I think that game's still relatively early in development. I expect that to be pushed to 2022 and maybe even late 2022. But I would say earliest, most likely for that game would be early 2022. But I'm still including it because I could be wrong, since it is currently listed at 2021. But I just know that a lot of games in general get delayed, even in normal circumstances. And then you include COVID on there, that just makes it even more so. So, yeah. Then I got Zelda. Then I kind of switch over to a little bit different. You got Zelda. So Switch, Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. We haven't had an update on it in a while, but I do think it will come out this year. It might be not till the end of the year, or even like a September, October release, something like that. I don't think it'll be out early this year, considering we're already, early in the year and we haven't had an update on it. But yeah, Zelda Breath of the Wild, looking forward to a lot. Breath of the Wild is my all-time favorite video game ever made, period. So, and I'm a big Zelda fan in general. So the fact that we should be getting that is a sign. I'm hoping Nintendo will come out with a direct relatively soon that gives us an update on that. And Nintendo's kind of due to give us some updates on a few things. Like, we haven't heard anything about Metroid Prime 4 for a while, as well as Bayonetta 3. I'm not personally interested really in either of those games, but we haven't had an update on them for a while. I feel like we're due for some sort of update on both of those games. Not necessarily saying they're going to come out soon per se, but new trailer and maybe some sort of time window. Even if they just say 2022 or something. I just think there's got to be something with those games soon. And then, like I said, Zelda Breath of the Wild, not just Breath of the Wild, but Zelda in general. That's kind of a to be determined thing. But February next month will be a 35-year anniversary for Zelda franchise. And so I got to think there's going to be some sort of big thing for that, kind of like they did with Mario here last year in 2020. Keep kind of forgetting we're in 2021 now, being that it's only the third day. But yeah, I expect Zelda to get something with that, and depending on what they release for a 35-year anniversary would determine what I get, because I'm not too interested. I know a lot of people are asking for Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD on the Switch, but I'm personally not too interested in those. That's kind of the lower tier of my list of what it would like to be like remade or something, because of the fact that they're already available on the Wii U. I know a lot of people, because the Wii U didn't sell well and everything, a lot of people want those on the Switch, but I just think it's kind of silly to port over a game that was already a remake in the first place. It'd almost be like remaking a remake, if you will. So I just think it's kind of silly. But I know I'm in the minority on that. So personally, I would, if we get like an Ocarina of Time HD, I would totally buy that, as Ocarina of Time is still one of the better Zelda games, and just getting to see it in HD would be amazing. And I know we have the 3DS remake, but HD remake would be a big good deal. And Skyward Sword I'd also like to see in HD, just because I personally didn't have issues with the motion controls. I know a lot of people didn't like the motion controls on Skyward Sword, which I think is kind of interesting and funny because I typically hate motion controls. Never was into the Wii and the whole motion control thing. I thought it was silly in the first place. Never interested me. Just don't like motion controls. But I actually love the motion controls in Skyward Sword. I thought they worked really well, and it was interesting the fact that like when you're fighting, swinging the sword and stuff, that you got to kind of aim your swing rather than just simply hitting a button randomly swinging, type of thing. I thought that was interesting, and it worked very well. I had no issues, but I would still like to see it a HD version because again, HD is a big upgrade, as well as the fact that I just don't like having to use the Wii U controller even on a game like that, even though I didn't have controller issues, because I just don't like the fact that the Wii controller sometimes loses connection, as well as just how fast I've always noticed the Wii eats batteries just crazy fast. So it would be nice to be able to play that and not have to deal with the Wii U controller if it was ported over to the Switch or HD version of the Switch. And then if we had any sort of like Zelda games that were on the handhelds remade for the Switch, that would be pretty cool, just because I'm personally not big into handhelds either. I know the Switch can play in like handheld mode, if you will, but I almost never do. I'm like 99% TV mode. I just have a hard time playing on handheld. I always have. It's just hard for me to personally play on like a 5-inch screen when I can play on my TV, especially as the years have gone on. I've gotten bigger TVs. I have a 55-inch currently that I've had since 2016. Before that, I was 37-inch. And then before that, I was a 19-inch. The 19-inch, I went from 19 to 37 back in 2007. So I haven't had a TV under 37 inches since 2007. And just playing on, like I said, a small screen with a handheld, and then trying, when you can play on TV, it's just hard for me personally. So I would like to see, because of that, if we got like a Zelda Seasons Ages type of thing on Switch, that'd be pretty cool. Those are two games too that I have never I played a little bit of, but haven't played a lot of, just because like the handheld aspect again. Also, if you got like something like Spirit Tracks, and I'm trying to think, there was another Zelda game, can't remember now. Put it in the comments if you remember, but there was another Zelda game that like Spirit Tracks use the stylus, and I don't like the fact that you have to use like the stylus to basically to make Link move, control him type of thing. So if they could remake a game like that for the Switch and make it so you don't have to use like a stylus touching the screen type of thing to make him move, and make it more of a traditional way to control him, that would be great. And then last with that is, if we got a Majora's Mask HD, I might get into it more, just because again, the HD aspects and the fact that I haven't played a ton of Majora's Mask. I think the furthest I've gone is like the second dungeon, and it's a good game, but I kind of don't like the fact that because of the 3 days when you run out of time, you almost have to like backtrack and do stuff you've already done to get to like the dungeon, and actually the dungeon itself. I kind of don't like that. I mean, I get what they were going for, but I don't know. And I don't know if there's a way where you could maybe kind of change that. I mean, people might not like that if you get rid of the 3-day cycle per se, or the restriction on time or whatever, but I don't know. But it would still, just either way, Majora's Mask, if they did an HD version of that, I would be interested with that. And then kind of going back to PS5, it's a multi-platform game. This is kind of the last game I can really think of at the moment, depending on, like I said, if we get other games later on in the year or whatnot, but that haven't been announced type of thing. But Batman Gotham Knights, it's a game I'm actually kind of waiting for / not 100% sold on. And the reason is I absolutely love the Dark Knight, or not Dark Knight trilogy. I mean, I do love the Dark Knight trilogy, but that's the movies. But the Batman Arkham Asylum trilogy, I absolutely love, and I feel like there was still enough with that particular formula to make one more game. If you had done something very similar, but just made it so that like the Batmobile isn't used for as much and whatnot. More just to get around, and also if you did more dual play or whatever, where you switch between characters kind of mid fight, you controlling both of them. That was a really good feature, but unused. So I feel like they could do more with another Arkham game. And the problem I'm having and why I'm kind of iffy on Arkham Knight is that from what we were shown, it looks like they completely changed the combat system. And the fact that they would completely change, I know it's not set in the Batman Arkham universe type of thing. That's kind of like a reboot sort of thing, if you will. But I still don't know what to think about that, because the combat in the Arkham games was fantastic, and to the point where I don't really think there was a need to ever in any Batman game like completely change the combat. Like I feel like that's a combat system that for any Batman game ever made from the rest of history, you should take like inspiration from that combat system. Not saying you can't change some things or add some things to it, but the basic way the free flow combat system worked is just something I think should not be gotten rid of. And so the fact that it looks like they changed that's a big disappointment for me, and it's a big reason the Batman Arkham games were so amazing. And so with not having what looks like you're not going to have that combat system, I just don't know how enjoyable it will be trying to play that game after going from the Batman Arkham games. But hopefully the game ends up being really good, even if the combat system itself isn't as fun or something. I'm not sure. But it's just the Arkham games, like I said, were so amazing. They're like some of my favorite games ever made. So my expectations, I guess, after that too, are high. And both with the Batman Arkham games and Spider-Man, or Marvel Spider-Man on PS4 now, Spider-Man Miles Morales on PS5/PS4, my expectations too for superhero games have went way up as a result of those games. So because of that, it's hard for me to just deal with okay superhero games now. I kind of expect them to be amazing, and I'm not sure if Batman Gotham Knight will do that. Plus, the thing too is, as far as I know, we haven't really had much of an update on Batman Gotham Knight since it was announced back in, I think it was September, if I remember correctly. So it's been several months. I know there was like a written preview type of thing where there was some questions asked and stuff, but other than that, we haven't really had an update. Like we haven't had another trailer. We haven't had anything about a release time. It said 2021, but we haven't had anything that said like summer or spring or fall or winter or Q1 or Q2 or anything like that. As well as, like I said, we haven't had an actual new trailer to give us any more kind of tidbits of what to expect from that game. So it's kind of a wait and see. I'm hoping it'll turn out well. But yeah, that's basically how I'm going to end this video. Those are my overall thoughts in terms of, like I said, how my second PS5 was doing, just kind of what I've been playing lately and what I'm kind of looking at for the rest of the year. As always, thanks for watching this, and I just want to know your comments below of just if you have a PS5, have you had any issues like I had on my first one, as well as just kind of what are you looking forward to this year, and just kind of what are you thinking that you'll buy this year in terms of games. I feel like 2021 is going to be a really big year, because if you look at PS5 and the lineup of games this year, it looks loaded. And especially considering that typically when new consoles come out, the first year and a half is kind of slow. But PS5, when you look at what's out already and now what's coming out this year, it looks like it's going to have one of the best like first year or so of any console, I'd say, ever. It had like the amount of games that should be out by the end of this year. Like honestly, if that was what we were getting the first 2 years, that would probably be more like what you should expect from a console when it first comes out. So the fact we're getting all that in like the first year is pretty amazing. And then with Nintendo, I think is in big position to have a big year, because Breath of the Wild 2, the Zelda anniversary coming up, and the fact that even some of the other games, like I've said, Metro Prime, Bayonetta 3 should have some sort of update, and the fact that in a sense, they're kind of even due for another 3D Mario. And then there might be some other surprises that we don't even know or have a clue about yet. So, yeah, that's just kind of my overall thoughts. But yeah, like I said, I want to see in the comments below, what are you looking forward to this year on like PS5, as well as like Switch, or even Xbox, even though I'm not personally an Xbox fan or really interested in anything they make, because I just think they make crap. But yeah, I just want to know. Oh, and then one last thing, getting a little longer, going on a little longer than I was expecting. But one last thing I wanted to talk about real quick is sales. So the Switch is at 75 million now, which is pretty impressive. I don't think it's going to have any sort of problem getting to 100 million plus, considering that 75 is already 3/4 of the way there, and the sales haven't really slowed down too much. And with next year, likely Breath of the Wild 2 coming out, and Zelda's anniversary, I don't see the Switch sales slowing down for at least all of 2021. And by then, by the time you get to 2022, they should already be at, I don't know, 90 million or so. And so even if the sales dropped off a good amount, then it would most likely at least get to that 100 million. I think it's got a good chance to at least pass the Wii U, because the Wii U, I feel like a lot of its sales were more based off of the gimmickiness of not did I say the Wii U? I meant the Wii. If I said the Wii U, I meant the Wii. It sells. I think the Wii sells, a lot of it was based off of the gimmicky of the motion controls, where I don't think the Switch is selling necessarily because of the gimmicky of being able to play on TV, as well as motion, or as well as handheld. And I just don't think you can really call that as much of a gimmick as you can call motion controls. So I don't see the sales dropping off as quickly for the Switch, even when they do start to drop off eventually, because eventually, of course, they will. No system's going to sell the same out every single year for all of eternity. But yeah, they should easily make 100 million. I'd say they have probably a good chance of making at least 110 with the way they're going. But it'll be interesting when all things kind of are said and done, where PS4 and the Switch sales are, because they're both selling. Have sold great, and then yeah, PS4. I'm interested to see where its sales are, because I haven't heard an update yet post holiday, where we had the Switch at 75 million after these holidays. I haven't heard anything about post PS4 sales yet after the holiday, but before they were at 113.8 million, so they got to be getting close to 120. They're not going to be at 120 now, but they should be close. Like, they should be 117 or so after the holidays and whatnot. So that means basically early this year, they should be at 120. So I would think, even if they're not at like 120, like I said, definitely by the time we get through Q1 and we get those of this year, and we get those numbers. So meaning by the time we're through March and we get those numbers, which I think we normally get a few weeks, maybe a month afterwards, we should know, or we should be at 120 plus by then for the PS4. And because of the fact that some of the PS5 games are on PS4, like Miles Morales and stuff, because of that, I expect the PS4 sales to not drop off as quickly as they would if games like Spider-Man and Horizon were not, if they were only on PS5. Then PS5, you have, there was something about that it sold like 3.4 million in its first month. So we have that sell number. I don't know how that compares to like PS4 and Switch and stuff in its first month or so. Of course, Switch didn't have the holiday sell thing, so that's kind of different. But yeah, that's pretty good. And then with part of the reason I brought up with the sales is that also the Xbox One has now just passed Super Nintendo. If you look at like all-time console sales at 49.21 million, I believe. I believe the Super NES was 49.1, so I think it's 0.11 past that now, according to the VC charts, I believe. Although they're never the most accurate, but we don't have official numbers on them yet. But it kind of gives you an idea. But basically, the reason I was bringing that up is that obviously the Super Nintendo, when it came out, gaming was way different back then. It was kind of just considered, you could almost say like an niche toy thing. When you have so many gamers. But so that was part of it. But also, the reason I wanted to bring up their sell numbers is that they're at now basically 49 million. Let's say 49 million compared to PS4, which last we heard was at 113.8. So that's over double difference. And that's without even including, like I said, the holiday numbers that PS4 has done, since we don't have those yet. So when you look at this gen that kind of just ended, if you will, with Xbox One and PS4, you're probably looking currently now after the holidays at PS4 being about 117 million. Consoles sold 118, somewhere around there. Let's say 18, yeah, probably about 118, compared to Xbox and about 49 million. So, I mean, Xbox would need about 9 more million just to be at a 2-to-1 ratio. So they're being outsold a little worse than 2-to-1. And with the way Xbox has been going and the way Sony's been going, it wouldn't surprise me if this gen ends up being even worse. It wouldn't surprise me at all if by the end of the PS5 Xbox Series X gen that the sales are like a 3-to-1 ratio, maybe even 4-to-1. Like, I honestly think PlayStation is going to dominate the sales that much, and I think it's gotten to the point where Nintendo is Sony's competition, not Microsoft anymore. Personally, I think it's how it is, even though Nintendo is different. Kind of do their own thing. At the end of the day, they all are video game consoles. People only have so much time and money to buy, consoles. So yeah, that's just kind of sell update on those. But yeah, if you just want to see your comments, like I said below, in terms of sell numbers, in terms of what games you're looking forward to. And like I said, have you had a PS5? And if so, did you have issues or anything with it? But yeah, comment below, and I'm going to go ahead and in this video, I might stream Immortals here in a little bit, but I got a few things to do first. But as always, thanks for tuning in.